Welcome to Mekk Knights Academy. Population U. Congratulations. Mekk Knights are an archetype that are a part of a much larger group of cards known as the World Legacy. But what makes them unique is how they are able to shut down an opponent's card effects during the course of a duel, since most effects, if not a vast majority, require the cards to be on the field to activate them. Mekk Knights can literally shut down any and all effects brought against them, magic, trap, or monsters. Mekk Knights can bring any deck to its needs, given the proper planning and investment into their materials. We'll also be covering other cards in this archetype's overall card grouping to help improve what this deck does. Now, let's get into the monsters, the magic, and trap cards of the archetype. First off, we're going to be talking about the main objective of this deck, and that is board control. Like some other archetypes and decks, the Mekk Knights are all about controlling the board and what options the opponent has to play against you. If you are able to gather together the necessary pieces, you can shut down everything your opponent tries to play before they can make their move. But this is rather difficult to do right off the bat, and it requires careful maneuvering. Second, the Mekk Knights are heavily reliant on going second in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which for a lot of decks and players put them into a tricky position, as often he who goes first often wins because of the benefits that going first offers. However, if you can push past that weakness and flaw in the deck, the Mekk Knights can easily swing control of the duel into their favor. Fun fact, if you play through the World Legacy story in solo mode of Master Duel, you'll have met these guys and seen what they can do in action. Third, I'm going to talk about their Archetype Mechanic, where if there are two cards in the same column, you can special summon Mekk Knights to that column without needing the tribute. For those of you wondering, the columns I refer to are the card positions on the board. Each board has 3 sets of 4 columns, with 2 of them being 5. You'll see what I mean on screen. Starting off with our first monster, we are going to be talking about the main hero of the Mekk Knights, or at least the most notable of them, Mekk Knight Blue Sky. When this Mekk Knight is summoned either normal or specially from the hand, you can add to your hand different Mekk Knights besides Blue Sky, equal to the number of cards that belong to your opponent in that column. If played in the right column, he can bring you up to 3 different Mekk Knights all on his own. Blue Sky is able to add different Mekk Knights that you need for your strategy to pay off and work out. Using him in conjunction with our next Knight is perfect for your strategy and necessary to your plans. Mekk Knight Purple Nightfall. If Purple Nightfall is on the field, you can activate its effect where you can target one Mekk Knight on the field and then banish it until your next standby phase. And if you do so, you can add a Mekk Knight besides Purple Nightfall to your hand. What makes this Mekk Knight key is that he can actually act as an emergency escape method for your Mekk Knight. If your opponent is about to use something like Nibiru on you, you can quickly send a Mekk Knight to the banish zone and save it so that you can have it come back during your next turn. If your opponent is also going to try and banish a Mekk Knight, or destroy it for whatever reason, you can banish it yourself using Mekk Knight Purple Nightfall's effect and essentially waste their card, because Purple Nightfall's effect is a quick effect. Mekk Knight Indigo Eclipse. Indigo Eclipse's effect allows you to transfer the Mekk Knights to different parts of the field as a quick effect. This is your third and most valuable Mekk Knight. You'll see why later on down the line. Now, while this effect won't really change the course of a battle if you activate it, it does allow you to transfer Mekk Knights out of the columns where there are cards, enabling you to further increase your Mekk Knight field presence, as well as trigger some cards again later on that you'll see. Mekk Knight Red Moon. Red Moon's effect allows you to banish one Mekk Knight from your graveyard to destroy one face-up monster in his column. Red Moon will help you deal with troublesome monsters you just can't seem to get rid of, or to eliminate powerful threats your Mekk Knights can't overcome on their own. Don't worry about banishing your key Mekk Knights from the grave. They have ways to bring themselves back to your hand. Just watch how many you banish and who you banish. Mekk Knight Yellow Star. Yellow Star operates the same as Red Moon. allowing you to banish Mekk Knights from the grave and target one spell or trap in its column for destruction. Not much to be said about Yellow Star aside from the fact that it can help you deal with permanent traps and spells if you need it to. Mekk Knight Orange Sunset. What Orange lacks in offense, it more than makes up for in its defense and its effect. If you destroy a card or it leaves the field for whatever reason while this knight is in that column, you can special summon one Mekk Knight from your hand to the field. With him on the field, you'll be swarming the field with more Mekk Knights if you play your cards right. Mekk Knight Green Horizons. While not the most versatile of the Mekk Knights, if Green Horizon is fighting a monster in the same column as it, you can bring one of your Mekk Knights from the grave and add it back to your hand. This effect will only work if the two monsters are in the same column, so remember that. Mekk Knight of the Morning Star. This Link monster, when Link summoned, allows you to discard one Mekk Knight or World Legacy card, and then add one Legacy card from your deck to your hand. But you can only use this effect once per turn. Also, it has another effect where if a Mekk Knight battles a monster in another column than itself, then that Mekk Knight cannot be destroyed in battle. The last and strongest of the Mekk Knights, Mekk Knight Spectrum Supreme. The strongest Mekk Knight and a combination of all 7 of them, Spectrum Supreme has all you need in one card. While this monster is on the field in the extra monster zone and points to no monsters, it cannot be destroyed by card effects and cannot be targeted with card effects. A difficult thing to do, but this makes Spectrum Supreme all but invincible. It also boasts a special effect where, if there are no other cards in its column, yours or the opponent, it can attack your opponent directly. If you need Mekk Knights on the field, however, you can send a card you control in its column to the grave, and then special summon any Mekk Knight from the grave to a zone it posts to into defense mode. Now, we move on to the trap and spell cards related to the Mekk Knights, starting with the field spell, World Legacy Scars. As said before, the Mekk Knights are only a part of a whole World Legacy archetype, and they're only a small part of it. So we'll only focus on the cards that directly benefit them first. World Legacy Scars increases the attack and defense of all Mekk Knights on the field by 300. However, during your turn, you can discard one World Legacy or Mekk Knight from your hand and then draw another card. It also carries another effect where if you have 8 different Mekk Knights with different names in your grave or on the field, you can banish all 8 of them and then send your opponent's entire hand and extra deck to the graveyard, essentially wiping them out of the duel if timed right. World Legacy's Memory. This allows you to special summon a Mekk Knight from your hand or deck, but only in defense position, and it returns to the hand at the end of the turn. For the rest of the turn, you'll only be able to special summon Mekk Knight monsters. But if you're only running Mekk Knight, this doesn't matter for the most part. Also, you can only activate one copy of this card per turn. World Legacy Succession allows you to target one monster in your graveyard and special summon it to a zone your Link monster points to, but you can only activate its effect once per turn. It's a great way to bring out Mekk Knights for the next set of cards, which are key to the success of your deck's strategy. World Legacy Key. When this continuous spell card is first activated, you can call back one of your banished Mekk Knights and add it to your hand. However, where this card's power truly lies is its second effect. While this card is face up on the field, you automatically negate any trap effect your opponent attempts to activate if it is in the same column as a Mekk Knight you control. World Legacy Whispers. When this continuous trap is activated, you can target one level 5 or higher monster on the field, and then it gains 1000 attack and defense until the end of the turn. Like World Legacy Key, however, this card's true power is in its second effect. Negate any spell effects that activate in the same column as a Mekk Knight monster you control. World Legacy Secret. When this continuous trap is activated, you can target one level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard and special summon it. However, when this card leaves the field, you must destroy that monster. Again, like Key and Whisper, Secret's power is in its secondary effect. While this is face up on the field, you automatically negate any monster effects that attempt to activate in the same column as a Mekk Knight you control. World Legacy Key, Whispers, and Secrets are the 3 cards that, once all brought together, shut down any and all effects your opponent attempts to play. And if you have a Mekk Knight in all 5 columns of the field, your opponent is essentially locked down and is unable to play anything. Harpy's Feather Duster? Negated. Pot of Desires? Negated. Monster Effects? Negated. Nothing will activate or work while you have these 3 cards on the field, and Mekk Knights to lock down your opponent's fields. The weakness to this strategy is that you must be able to keep your Mekk Knights alive, and avoid losing them in battle or before the traps and spell cards take effect. Now, I'm going to cover some other cards that are a part of the World Legacy series that can help balance out and give your Mekk Knights some extra oomph and shutdown power. Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. This monster, when normal summoned, allows you to special summon a Link monster in your graveyard so that it points to this card, but it changes the attack to 0 and negates its effect. As another effect, while it's on the field, you can only special summon Link monsters from that point onward. What makes this card so powerful is that Ibli can be used against your enemy. When you send her to the grave from your field face up, for example when you Link summon using her as material, you can activate her effect so that she special summons herself to your opponent's field in defense mode, and her effect, where she restricts special summons, is now forced onto your opponent, locking them out of special summons unless they use her as a Link material. Time it right, and she will decimate your opponent's strategies, since almost every deck is heavily reliant on special summoning in one form or another. World Legacy World Shield, a defensive monster that is unaffected by activated effects from monsters special summoned from the extra deck. While face up, your opponent cannot target World Legacy cards as its own column with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by card effects either. Finally, if it's in your graveyard, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon it to the field, but your opponent will also be able to special summon 1 monster from their hand. Unless, of course, Ibli is on the other side of the field. World Legacy World Lands. While face-up monsters, your opponent cannot target World Legacy monsters except this one. Once per turn, during damage calculations, if your Link monster battles a monster, you can discard this card as a quick effect to reduce your opponent's monster by 3,000 attack points. If a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you can special summon 1 World Legacy token with 0 attack and defense to both sides of the field in defense mode. There are other World Legacy cards you can try out, so check them out and see what fits your player style most before settling on them. I just run Shield and Land since they're the most straightforward in their uses. Now, we move on to the Nightmare cards, starting with Nightmare Phoenix. When this is Link summoned, you can discard 1 card and then target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. Then, if it was co-linked when you activated this effect, you can draw 1 card, but you can only use this effect of Nightmare Phoenix once per turn. Nightmare Cerberus. When Link summoned, you can discard 1 card and then target 1 special summon monster in your opponent's main monster zones and destroy it. Then, if it was co-linked during this turn, you can draw 1 card when this effect is activated. Note, you can only use its effect once per turn. Note, also, both Phoenix and Cerberus share the same effect where co-linked monsters you control cannot be destroyed, Phoenix being battle and Cerberus being card effects. Nightmare Unicorn. When Link summoned, you can discard 1 card and then target 1 card on the field, shuffle it into the deck. Then, if it was co-linked when the effect was activated, you can draw 1 card, but you can only use this effect of Unicorn once per turn. While any co-linked Nightmare monsters are on the field, for your normal draw, in your draw phase, you can draw 1 additional card for each different card name among those co-linked Nightmare monsters, instead of just drawing 1 card. Nightmare Griffin. When this is Link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 spell or trap in your graveyard, and then set it to your field. But it cannot activate this turn. Then, if it was co-linked after using this effect, you can draw one card. You can only use this effect of Nightmare Griffin once per turn. As a final effect, all special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked. The Nightmare cards are among the most popular in the game because of their effects and how easy it is to summon them out, with Phoenix and Unicorn being in almost every deck. So if you have these cards, then they'll fit right into your Mekk Knights playstyle, and they offer benefits that can help you deal with troublesome cards on the field. Now then, time for the main strategy of the deck. Just to warn you, this deck relies heavily on your opponent going first, and setting up cards on the field, monsters, magic, and trap cards. As such, you will need to run hand traps to try and slow down and hinder their strategies. Once your turn begins, you need to start rolling out your strat as soon as possible, and you need to get your magic and trap cards as soon as possible, as Mekk Knights do not generally have the power needed to bring down bigger threats. And without their spells and traps, they are vulnerable to the opponent's effects. Using purple Nightfall to banish itself and bring out blue sky is also key to your strategy. Getting those two set up and going will allow you to go into your other priority knights, like Indigo Eclipse, using Morning Star to send unneeded World Legacy cards like Shield to pull out valuable World Legacy cards, as well as other spells and traps that you need to shut down your opponent. Specifically, the World Legacy cards necessary to shut down spells and traps, as well as monster effects. When needed, use Yellow Star and Red Moon to destroy spells, traps, and monsters to help clear the field and keep yourself safe. Using Green Horizon and Orange Sun to call back Mekk Knights from the grave and special summon them will help you swarm the field and shut down columns and effects your opponent tries to use. Time the use of your trap cards, especially World Legacy Secret. Unless you have Indigo out, you need to time it so that you can keep your opponent's cards on lockdown. Once your strategy is rolling, your opponent will be trapped with no way to play. Nightmare Ibli is a powerful tool in your arsenal. However, her special summoning restriction is limited to only non-link summons. So if your opponent is able to, he will link summon with her to get her off the field. With monsters like Link Kariba who can easily use Ibli as material, he won't stay locked down for long. Your knights and any other monsters are going to struggle with damage output. Even Mekk Knight Spectrum Supreme will struggle to take on much heavier hitting monsters, as the strongest he'll get with World Legacy cards will be around 3,300. However, you can give your non-link monsters a boost with World Legacy Whispers, which will boost your Mekk Knight's power by 1,000, which can help you bridge the gap and turn the tide in a tight spot. However, the effect will only last for the turn's duration, so time it right and bait your opponent into attacking you. The one benefit of Mekk Knights is, aside from the top three, Purple Nightfall, Blue Sky, and Indigo Eclipse, your Mekk Knights don't need to worry about having their effects negated, since they'll either be going into your Nightmare or Mekk Knight linked monsters, or just being used to beat down your opponent, meaning cards like Skill Drain don't matter to you as much. Also, a benefit of the Mekk Knights is that with how the Mekk Knights work, you only need one copy of 5 of them, while the other 2, being Blue Sky and Purple Nightfall, can be run at 3 copies since they are what makes the deck run. Spectrum Supreme is good to have, but with how little you'll be summoning him, you can get away with only 1 copy of it as a link monster. This means you can have a deck with less than half of it being monsters and still be effective. When your trap and spell negates have been activated, don't rest on your laurels, as if your opponent is smart, they'll be able to play around your Mekk Knights. The trap isn't set until you've filled every zone with at least 1 Mekk Knight. Once that is done, the only way your opponent can fight back is if he has a higher attacking monster to beat into you with. The Nightmares don't need to be run at multiple copies, but if you want to run multiple copies, go right ahead. Finally, as a word of caution, going second is how this deck works. As said, if you don't have enough hand traps or negates you can activate from the hand, you will struggle against more meta decks that are able to fill the field with negates or high attacking beat sticks, as the term for high powered monsters is used for. Mekk Knights carry the power to shut down and negate an entire field. completely ending an opponent's day if given space. While their playstyle is slow, it benefits those who are willing to play the patient game and outsmart their opponents. Players who can bring them out and unleash their negating powers will quickly end the day of many players who rely so much on being able to activate effects, which is pretty much every deck out there. Now, bring to bear the powers of the World Legacy and defend your right to do what you want while denying your opponent the ability to do anything he wants. Hope you enjoyed this archetype. If you want my deck profile that I run, it's currently on the screen. Go ahead and copy it or even adjust it to your liking. I recorded this at like 1 a.m, so if I sound too quiet, that's why. Tell me what you liked about the video or didn't like, and if you do like it, perhaps give it a like. Help me out here, I'm a tiny tuber. Until next time, see ya!